Hi, welcome to QBOM. In today's video, I'm going to show you some of the basic functionality of this new utility that you will find inside Mech-Q, our engineering add-on for AutoCAD, BricsCAD, IntelliCAD, and you'll find it in AutoCAD as well. To start QBOM, we'll just type in QBOM, press enter, and then we're going to immediately get the QBOM settings if this is the first time you've loaded it in the drawing. Now, QBOM only has one dialog that you'll have to worry about. It includes a toggle for 3D. You'll have the option to select a pipe layer to put your bubbles on. You can match layer or make a new layer. Then you can specify the actual text size inside your bubble. And then here you can choose different shapes, different leader types. Right now we just have the arrow filled, but you can select from many different types and also tabulate by like items, unique items here. You'll also be able to choose different label types, whether it be numeric alpha or small alpha. Down here, you'll be able to export these settings to a file if you want to save a certain setting type for a different client or different drawing. Then importantly, down here is a way to reset your QBOM. So you would use this if, let's say, you wanted to start over, because what will happen is once you start labeling your drawing, some of these items will gray themselves out. So once you're satisfied with your settings, you can choose OK. Here I've got a 2D drawing example. We'll just simply start tagging the items. So we'll start here with the T and we'll come out this way and press enter. And we'll just go around the various pieces in the drawing. So it's just a matter of selecting the pieces you need and then locating the label. We can also project the line down if we want to align these bubbles using object snap tracking. Let's go ahead and label this elbow down here and the straight piece. I'll just come over this way and just kind of track this over this way. And the elbow up here. And then the flange. Come out this way and then the flange here. Now this flange is going to be a little bit different because it's going to group all the pieces together. We can choose the horizontal, and this is going to give us the flange, the gaskets, and the bolts in our bill of materials. And then once we're done, we can choose finish, and then we can exit. Now, one thing about the bill of materials is that you are allowed to exit during the labeling process. Let's say if you wanted to dimension something and then come back later. So once you finish labeling, it's time to go on to the schedules or the bill of materials. The way you want to do that is to use a utility called data extraction. The data extraction command you'll find in most all CAD applications, including AutoCAD, BricsCAD, IntelliCAD, and AutoCAD. But you'll also find a shortcut to that in QBOM. You'll see here in the command line, you'll have the BOM table command here. So by clicking on this, we'll open the data extraction. And then, of course, there's the command itself, data extraction, which does exactly the same thing. So you can go into it either way. And the same goes for the QBOM utility itself. You'll be able to access that through the Mech-Q dialog, or you can just type in the QBOM command. So both utilities are flexible in that respect. Let's go ahead and choose Edit Existing Data Extraction. This is going to allow you to open up a template that's got predefined Mech-Q selections in it, and then speed up the process. And if you make any changes to it, they'll be saved to the template. So we'll browse to the Users, Public Documents, Mech-Q, and then Data Extraction. And here you'll find the default templates. Then we'll choose Next. Next, we'll select the objects in the drawing, like so. enter, then we'll choose next. Now here you're going to get your block objects. I want to quickly explain what these block names do. I'll do that in the next step. But the important thing to remember is the first one, the PI11, is the straight pipe. The rest are fittings, gaskets, and bolts. If you're creating a template from scratch, keep in mind that all the Mech-Q block names start with PI. And then in the option settings below, you want to make sure to only turn on the display blocks only and the display blocks with attributes only. Then I'll choose next. And in this step, you'll see the category filter attributes turned on and all the items selected here except quantity. You won't need quantity because the data extraction tool is actually counting the items for you. So you can leave that turned off. The rest of these items can be toggled off and on. For example, if you didn't need to remark column to show up, you just uncheck it here. We'll go on to the next step. And here you can see those same columns here that we saw in the previous step. You can always go back, uncheck that, and then go forward, and this preview here will refresh. We are combining identical items. You want to check this, and then turn off the name column. But before I do that, let's pull this open here real quick so we can have a look to see what these block names actually do. As mentioned, the PI11 is the straight pipe, the 12 is the elbow, 13 is the T here. Then we got 24, which is the flange. So if you're ever wondering which names do what, you can easily see what they do here in step 5. Now, a good example of this would be, let's say if you only wanted to show the straight pieces of pipe. Let's say if we wanted to go back and toggle off all these items except the straight piece, then what you could do is you could tabulate all the straight pieces of pipe in your drawing. So let's turn off the name column and we'll go to the next step. This is just the insert step. We can output it as well to the CSV or text file at the same time and then finish. And from here, I'm just going to place a point in my drawing anywhere in model space. If I click on this, you can see that it's an AutoCAD table. These tables can be adjusted as you need. For example, I can stretch these columns out a little ways if I need to. I'll also be doing a separate video on tables and how to customize and create styles and so forth in the future. Now, if I click on this table and then just do a Control X, that's going to cut it into the clipboard. And then if I go into my layout tab here, you can see here, if I look in the upper left here, I got my view controls and my style controls here. So I know I'm in model space. So I need to double click out of the paper area like this. And then I need to do a Control V, which is a control paste. And that's going to bring my table in from the clipboard. If I pan up here and look at this table, to scale it down, I'll click on the table, type in the scale command, and the base point is going to be here at the corner of paper. And then I need to type in the R command to reference it from that same point to the end of table here. And that will bring it back to the point where I can scale it down. The easiest way of doing this is to just type in the NEA command for nearest as I'm specifying that length, and then just scale it down to the size I need. Now from here, I can just move it into paper space and then position it in like so. That's essentially how you move your table from model space to paper space. Let's change gears and look at a 3D example. I'm going to go into Northeast Isometric View, type in QBOM, and it's the first time I've created a QBOM in this file, so I get the settings dialog. I'm going to turn this prompt for 3D tags on. I got my text size set at 2 1/4. I'm going to go ahead and change this to 1 5/8. Notice how I put this in. I put a space between the 1 and the 5/8, so that's important. For pipe, I'm going to choose hexagon. I'm going to choose circle, gasket, square, and we'll leave the bolt set to circle. Then I'm going to choose unique numbering for this, so each fitting gets its own item number. Change this to alpha, and then go ahead and choose OK. Now, it's important to understand planes when we're working in 3D. So we have, for example, a plane that goes left to right here. To visualize this, let me turn on a layer. Notice how it's going directly down the center of that pipe there. Then we have another plane going this direction. These are just some help layers I've made. That follows the center line of that as well. We also have a plane that will come out from the center line of this pipe. I'll turn that layer on temporarily. That we'll be using as we label this model. So just keep that in mind as I go around and label these. It's important to understand that because that's what keeps the labels attached to the pipe if viewing it from different angles. So let's start off with this plane here. You'll notice down here we have a prompt that says pick point for leader plane origin. Let's go ahead and define those planes. So we're going to pick the center here and come down to the right, making sure our ortho is turned on. And then we're going to left click to establish the new UCS here. Now go ahead and click on each of these pieces here along the leader plane here. So let's start with the straight piece. And we'll come up just a little ways. Then we'll go to the elbow. Same thing. And the elbow down at this end here. And enter. Now we also have a welded lead down here underneath. So we need to click this as well. And then start our leader. Turn off our ortho so that we can position the arrow between the dimension line. And press enter. Now we can label the flange here. And one way to do that is to keep our orientation the same. In other words, all our bubbles are going to be pointing the same way, but we'll just end up moving our UCS over to where the flange is. So in your command line, or if you're using Dyn mode, like I'm doing, you can just down click here on the arrow and choose new tag plane origin. And now we can just specify the quadrant here as the origin. It could be any of those quadrants. And then we need to select the piping item, which is going to be the flange. Then we'll start our leader, turn on the ortho, and then enter. Now we do have several options here because we're going to be labeling the gasket and bolt as well. So if we choose horizontal, we're going to get this result. Triangular, we can do above, but we'll just stick with horizontal. Then we'll just choose finish. Now let's define a new plane over here. So it's QBOM, and we're going to pick the center here. Then we're going to come out this way and left click. And then we'll choose the T here. And we'll start our leader here. And we'll come up and enter. Next, we'll choose the elbow here. We'll come out this way, turn off our ortho, and enter. Next, we need to define a new tag plane orientation. So we're going to go ahead and select this. For the new plane, let's just force snap to the center of this with the transparent snap. We'll click on the center of this wall-to-let. We'll come out this way to the right. And now we can just start labeling these pieces. Let's start out with a straight piece. So we'll click, and then we'll start the leader here, come out and enter. Then let's do the wall-to-let here. We'll come down, left click, and enter. We'll do this wall-to-let next. We'll left click, start our leader, come up with the ortho mode off, and enter. Finally, we have this T at the very top. We'll left click on this. And this one will come down and we'll turn on our ortho and come out and do a 3-point leader here. And then enter. That completes the labeling. You'll be able to see that all the labels are all in line with the pipe. So that is the sole purpose of establishing those leader planes. Next, we can go ahead and create a schedule or bill of materials. And there's a couple of ways to do this. In the first video, I showed you essentially how to cut and paste and put it in paper space. But there is another method, and that is to go into paper space first. So we'll just click on the tab here. Then we'll double click and activate the viewport. You can see we've got the view and the shade option here on the upper left. And that tells us that we're in model space. So you'll notice down here, I have this viewport locked. And the reason being is this will lock it from moving around. But if I need to reposition it, I can just move it over and then lock it again. And this way, if I pan up or pan down, it's going to keep that scaling in there for me, even though I've opened the viewport up. Let's fire up the QBOM again. And this time, if you look into the command line down here, you'll see the BOM table option. And this is another way of loading the data extraction tool. It's really just a shortcut. So if we do that, we're going to get this familiar dialog here where we can choose edit an existing extraction. You want to choose this, and then any changes you make to the template will be saved. We'll choose the Mech-Q default in our data extraction folder. We'll choose next, and we'll select the objects in the drawing. So we'll choose this and choose the objects in the drawing and press enter. And then we'll go on to the next step. Like the 2D video, you can see all the objects. This P1-11 is actually the straight piece of pipe. Everything adjusted as needed due to the template. Here we also have everything we need. We can turn off the count column here and the name column and check the sorting of our column here, and we'll choose next. And then here we can just insert the table and click finish. Now at this point, we don't want to insert it into the viewport in model space. We want to insert it into paper space. So in order to force this, let me go ahead and show you another shortcut. So at this point, because we're still in model space within the viewport, we can force close the viewport window by typing in apostrophe P space for paper space. This is going to close that window for us in the middle of a command. So now we can go ahead and just insert the table in. We'll choose it from this corner here. Then next we can go ahead and just scale this table down. So type in the scale command. We'll choose the table and we'll choose the base point. And then from here, we can choose R for reference and define the total length of table here. And then bring this back like so. Now we can turn on our near snap and then snap to the edge of our paper. So we have a little bit better control. And we'll go ahead and left click. So hopefully that's given you a good head start on how to use QBOM and create both bubble and schedules very, very quickly and easily. Feel free to call us at 888-271-7121. We'll see you in the next video.